Greetings, colleagues, from the 6034 Project Governance Values and Ethics course. This video presentation was prepared to share with you the importance of project governance on project success, and by the end of this video, you should be provided with strategies and guidelines towards implementing a successful project governance framework. Kindly allow me to introduce members of the Government Technology Solutions: Marley Ack, Chanel Cumberbatch, Stavron Cubid, Valen Granon, Tishelle Samuel, and I'm Takara Bain. We hope our presentation helps you learn more about the importance of project governance as it relates to project success. In this video presentation, Government Technology Solutions will discuss 4 main objectives in detail. We will be highlighting the importance of project governance and its importance on the successful completion of projects. We will critically examine the assigned case and evaluate the current issues being experienced by the Ministry of Technology, MOT, as it implements its digital transformation project. We will then offer suggestions to the MOT to facilitate its migration to a project-based organization. And lastly, we will provide recommendations for an appropriate governance framework that will address existing and future issues in project management at the MOT. To fully understand the importance of project governance, it is important to define the term, highlighting its fundamental impact on the completion of successful projects. Project governance encompasses accountability, authority, controlling, and monitoring by presenting an oversight to monitor compliance, influential in mitigating risks, and providing guidance and direction. It is a project focus and describes how the project management process is governed through the project lifecycle, Sankara and others, 2008. Ali 2015 agrees that project governance is an oversight function, but stresses that there must be alignment with the organization's governance structure. Over time, globalization and the increased need to interconnectivity have highlighted the need for Caribbean countries to find new ways to promote inclusive growth, innovation, diversification, job creation, and sustainable development, RAM 2021. As part of the assigned case, we see a public sector investment program, PSIP, being emphasized as the strategic investment plan essential for the transformation of a CARICOM country to developed country status. The plan, through the creation of infrastructural and socio-economical frameworks, seeks to improve citizens' lives and livelihood by accelerating key development outcomes, including increased employment and foreign exchange, sustainable debt to GDP ratios, citizen security, wealth creation, investments, and efficient public service. Digital transformation presents such an opportunity by advancing public service engagement and delivery, as well as building resilience and enhancing output and productivity. This change will make it easier to interact with the government at multiple levels, across ministries and agencies. The ability to share data within the government will potentially remove duplicate effort and wastage while saving citizens time and money, George 2020. The government, spurred on by the thrust towards adopting digital transformation across CARICOM, has decided to implement their own digital plan through the Ministry of Technology, MOT. The MOT is the government's enterprise-wide ICT strategy and policymaking body. It is also responsible for the execution of these policies through the implementation of projects. GTS has been the implementing body on most of these initiatives. The government has requested the services of our company to implement their digital transformation DT plan and developed a project governance framework for project success. However, after a thorough evaluation, several issues were identified, which, if not addressed, will derail the successful implementation of the project. The primary issue revealed during the evaluation is a lack of project governance framework. The absence of this structure to guide the implementation and progression of the project gives rise to several secondary issues, including no project governance framework, absence of a communication plan, no oversight and control on the project scope, and unethical behavior by the project manager. I will now focus on the primary issue where we have identified that there is no project governance framework in place. Muller 2009 characterizes corporate governance as an overarching framework for ethical decision-making in an organization. It, in essence, outlines the do's and don'ts for executives, ensuring that there is transparency, accountability, and a strategy that defines organizational goals and the actions to be taken to achieve them. Evidence in the case points to the presence of corporate governance within the government in the form of a strategic plan through its Public Sector Investment Program, PSIP. However, the case also highlights that the project management culture across government is poor to non-existent, insinuating the absence of a government's framework to guide its projects. Project management culture, defined as a system of attitudes and behaviors, is critically important to project success. The authors Gary and Larson 2000 and Hools and Duplessis 2002 metaphorically assert that the project is a boat where culture is the river. The culture of the organization, a project being a temporary organization, is conducive to completing projects. It is like paddling downstream. Teamwork and cross-functioning operations are regular and efficient, with conflicts being recognized and appropriately addressed. Where a project management culture is absent, it is like paddling upstream, requiring more time and effort. Teamwork will be discouraged, conflict is rifled, and risk is avoided, causing projects to face several obstacles. The absence of the project management culture and framework characterizes an organization that is low on the project management maturity scale, as is often the case in the Caribbean. Pennypacker and Grant 2002 suggest that organizations that are at level 1 of the project management maturity model recognize that there are project management processes. However, standards and best practices have not been established, and individual project managers are not held to any specific accountability by any process standards. In this case, there is no identification of a project sponsor. There was, therefore, no clear single point of accountability, which is a key principle of project governance. At the level of individual projects, the sponsor sets the project deliverables, provide the means, which includes resources and facilities, as well as assigns a competent project manager. In addition to demonstrating competence, the project manager and the project team must be ethical and comply with organizational policy. The MOT did not have a competent authority in project design. However, leadership was assumed by the IT manager and his team. Documentation information sharing is loose and ad hoc, which is also confirmed in the case with the IT manager and his team failing to effectively communicate the digital transformation plans to the ministry. Looking at the secondary issues, we have identified poor stakeholder management as an area of concern. Today, project management practices are utilized across several industries and sectors as a strategic organizational component that can lead to innovation, create and increase value, and ultimately allow organizations to recognize their visions. Although there is significant importance associated with projects and project management, their failure rate remains high. Rajublu and others 2015 suggest that among the factors that can impact project success is stakeholder management. Max Clarkson principles of stakeholder management outline that managers should first acknowledge and actively monitor the concerns of all legitimate stakeholders, considering their interests when making decisions and throughout the project operations. Further, the principle suggests that project managers should be active listeners and open communication with stakeholders in the project, addressing conflicts through appropriate reporting. Failed stakeholder management was a pain point in the case. There appeared to be little to no communication between the various stakeholders on the project. Advice from the legal and technical experts was ignored and not communicated to the relevant parties. This omission left the permanent secretary, a stakeholder, if not the most legitimate, reporting inaccurate information. Additionally, other stakeholders were impacted. Considering the project being implemented, a digital transformation plan across all government departments would impact a diverse group of stakeholders with varying uses of the system and thereby different needs. One could not disregard the processes of identifying, regular communicating, and receiving feedback from these groups would be pertinent to the success of the project. However, end users of the digital system in the case refused to utilize it, which could have been a result of their needs not being met, or there was not enough buy-in. E-governance, as described by Jane 2000, involves the use of information and communication technology through the Internet to deliver effective and efficient government services to citizens, businesses, and government agencies. He suggests several issues are associated with adopting such a process, including struggles to change from a manual service process to a digital one, low IT literacy among stakeholders, service unavailability, and lack of integration across government departments. The lack of a policy that would govern a cloud-based system could also exacerbate departmental integration issues. Another issue identified is the absence of a communication plan. By definition, communication is obtaining all relevant information, interpreting it, and effectively circulating this information to persons who might need it. In project governance, communication is therefore the lifeblood of the project, having a foundation to support all other areas. It is a critical function that integrates cost, project scope, and time to achieve a successful project. Zog 2014 asserts that communication in projects is necessary for various reasons: to request information, share information, ask questions, outline instructions, team building, or networking. As part of the communication process, feedback, whether positive or negative, is also fundamental. The scholars contend that interventions are required to enhance communication when feedback is absent or delayed. Once implemented, the communicator must consistently monitor these interventions, reviewing their success in the communication process. The success of communication then depends on the sender's ability to speak or write reason and listen competently. Ineffective communication can therefore lead to misunderstandings where tasks and critical processes are inadequately defined. There is uncertainty regarding responsibilities and the scope of the project, which can lead to project failure. The case presents several instances of ineffective communication, where the MOT could be considered the project sponsor. In the case, the ultimate authority on the project, they were forced to initiate a conversation with the IT manager for clarification on many missteps during the implementation of the DT plan. Information was neither timely nor forthcoming. Considering the urgency of the project, this lack of communication can negatively impact their ability to make necessary decisions to ensure that the project remains balanced as it relates to the triple constraint of time, cost, and project scope. Additionally, the manager was unable to effectively communicate the DT plans to the ministry, despite being an IT specialist, which brings into question the manager's competency as a communicator. Raj Kumar 2010 affirms that the project manager and the project team determine the communications that are needed on a particular project, considering that there will be no advantage of sharing information among stakeholders that is not desired or required. However, the author suggests that a communications management plan must be developed to document the process, types, and expectations of disseminating information during the project life cycle. The plan will provide the stakeholder communication requirements, the expected format, content, and detail of communication, whether it be a quick email versus a project report, and how needed information flows through the project to the current individuals. A schedule for various types of communication is also determined. Critically important in the communications management plan is the outline for an escalation process and timeframes for moving issues up the organizational structure if they cannot be resolved at the lower level. The absence of such a plan left the implementation team without the appropriate structure to escalate issues that impeded the progress of the project. Unethical behavior by the project manager was also a problem in the case. Mueller 2009 suggests that governance was founded as a means to lower the risk of unethical conduct in organizations. The motive is to ensure that there is transparency in the work of managers and the way business is conducted in organizations. Corporate governance has therefore trickled down the corporate hierarchy to project governance for project managers. The author also highlights the ethically focused organizations must address concerns about ethical matters as it relates to project outcomes and processes. The scholar categorizes ethical issues under three main headings: transparency issues, relational issues, and optimization issues, each of which can be found in the case. As it relates to the issue of transparency, the IT manager's non-disclosure of missteps in the implementation of the project, as well as ongoing challenges with data storage and management, is not only a communication issue, but is also unethical and could be a result of protecting himself from embarrassment if he were to admit his planning mistakes. The hope of righting the issues by others means through the life of the project or due to the absence of escalation process. In relation to relationship issues, the case highlights the IT manager's decision to use sole select tender process to choose a supplier to provide the digital transformation plan's cloud services. The manager can justify this decision if the supplier has unique qualities or expertise that set them apart from other candidates, or the project is commercial in confidence, for example, involving sensitive information, as may be the case with government ministries, shared with other party in confidence. However, the absence of a governance framework to assist with outlining appropriate eligibility requirements could see the decision viewed as bid rigging or collusion between employee and the supplier, both of which are unethical. Project procurement is among the first tasks to be performed on a project. This aspect of the project defines which goods or services will be done internally or outsourced to suppliers and contractors. Eliza and others 2011 describe project procurement as a perfect environment for ethical issues. The scholars indicate that a suitable project governance framework must govern project procurement planning. The framework will define and clearly articulate the structured roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities within the project and facilitate consistent, standardized, and transparent reporting. This structure aids sound decision-making, and a contract is awarded to the appropriate contractor. However, the absence of a project governance framework could result in a poorly performed project procurement process, leading to dissatisfaction, ethical issues, and time-consuming detours. As a public sector entity responsible for public funds, the Ministry of Technology can have pervasive effects on the lives of citizens and activities in the private sector. Therefore, procurement must be operated under rigid guidelines. The case describes the IT manager has provided an explanation that data storage and management has been an ongoing challenge for the Ministry of Technology, and the current initiative of utilizing cloud service to address the issues is a key milestone in their DT plan. However, several of the previous initiatives have proven costly to implement and have failed to deliver the desired results and impact. This could be viewed as an ethical optimization issue, where the decision being made is based on the objectives of the project manager, the IT manager in this instance, rather than the project sponsor or the Ministry of Technology. Had the IT manager noticed signs of possible failures of the initiative and decided to complete the work to save face, rather than discussing alternatives, actions, or solutions that can help salvage the situation. Pierre and others 2018 posit that project control is not only concerned with the traditional constraints of quality, time, and cost, but also elements of change control and corrective action decision-making. The author suggests the use of proper project methodologies to assist in the planning of a project, increase success, completing projects on time, within the given constraints, and providing the desired outcomes. A popular method such as PMBOK, Project Management Book of Knowledge, applied to a project provides management processes, including monitoring and controlling processes that ensure that the project objectives are achieved. However, there were no project methodologies applied in this case. As part of the planning process, metrics, baselines, and thresholds for performance are established, as well as any test and evaluation processes that will be used to measure performance against the specifications of the desired results. The absence of these guidelines saw initiatives as part of the project go beyond the assigned budget without providing the desired results, jeopardizing the success of the project. Before steps can be taken to migrate the MOT to a project-based organization, considerations must be made for the organization's level of projectization. Muller 2009 affirms that corporations operate at different levels of projectization. For example, the extent to which their business is based on projects and the degree to which project governance extends to the way work is performed within the corporation. Organizations must choose an appropriate governance structure to project management, but forces exist that must be considered as they can foster or deter good quality project management. Education. What can be done? This refers to the skill level and project management knowledge of the assigned project manager. A better educated project manager will have a greater cachet of methods, tools, and techniques to manage projects and any inherent management problems that may arise through the life of the project. This force determines what can be done by the project manager as it relates to quality project management. Number 2, management demands. What should be done? This second force considers management demands at the corporate level. Management determines the extent to which specific project management practices are demanded and utilized. These demands can be made by the project sponsor, steering groups, in larger projects, program managers, or any other line functions that have supervisory authority over the project and project manager. This force can therefore dictate how project management should be done by the project manager, which project management methodology to be used, the frequency and contents of communication, and the type of planning and control techniques to be applied. However, anything not specifically demanded by the management can often be neglected by the project managers, which can adversely affect project performance. And 3, perceived economic pressure. What is done? This final force can have the most detrimental impact on the quality project management. This involves the manager's perception of the economic progress of the project and the resulting pressure it can have on the completion of the project. Where there is perceived low economic pressure, the project is being successfully managed and remains on target within the cost and time constraints. Managers tend to have a long-term view of the project, possibly planning follow-on projects. When there is high pressure from the corporate level or other stakeholders due to changes in the project plan or unrealistic goals of costs or time, managers begin to consider the short term only when making project decisions. The fear of failure of the project that can result in their loss of employment creates an agency problem and breeds unethical behavior and decision making. The manager may make short decisions that are severely detrimental for the project itself, the long-term client relationship, and the long-term accomplishments of the organization. Now, having identified these 3 critical forces that can impact quality project management, the MOT must respond to these issues with the appropriate measures as it migrates to a project-based organization. These measures need to balance both the financial investment into the developing project management capabilities within the organization against the return on the investment into the project. The MOT may be considered as an organization that is moderately involved in projects. The investment into project management should therefore match that to recognize value government enterprise-wide. The figure displayed depicts the governance framework for migrating to a project-based organization as a 3-step process. Each step constitutes the congruence of the 3 forces previously discussed. Migration from step 1 to step 3 illustrates an increasingly stronger organizational focus on project management capabilities and and associated increase in investment and potential return in project management capabilities. Considering the particulars outlined in the case study, there is a need for improvement in the project governance framework of the MOT to assist in its role as a policy development and execution body for the government. The MOT has engaged GTS to provide services for the implementation of projects, thereby acknowledging the need for project management within the organization. To ensure that there is an improvement at the MOT, an increased investment beyond that of Step 1 in the government's framework must be made in the organization's focus on project management capabilities. The following steps must therefore be taken to migrate the ministry to a project-based organization. Firstly, the MOT should pursue external certifications to improve the education of its project managers. This certification ensures that the professionalism and competency of project managers are assessed independently by an organization specialized to do so. Education also contributes to the credibility of the manager. It allows the project owner to trust the project manager, knowing that they are competent and will ensure that the project remains on track considering the quality, schedule, and budgetary requirements. Competency also allows the manager to meet the desired results while operating in a professional and trustworthy manner. Certification can be acquired in two main categories: certification of knowledge through Project Management Institution, Project Management Professional Certification Program, or a level certification through the International Project Management Association in Level C certification. Both are valid for up to 3 to 5 years. A project management office such as GTS should be brought on to assist with project management execution. Having identified and reviewed the existing digital transformation plan as a project in trouble, support can then be provided to respective project managers to improve project management delivery. Any gaps in the skills as identified in the unavailability of a resource competent in project design can be filled through training and consultations that will equip managers with techniques and tools as well as project management methodologies. Lastly, a mentorship program for project managers must be developed. These programs will aim to improve the approach and attitudes of project managers to develop towards their work, establishing a project management culture within the MOT. The program will also seek to improve communication and teamwork among sponsors, steering groups, and project stakeholders. The mentorship program can take the form of internal swapping of managers from one unit to another for a few hours monthly, junior project managers being mentored by senior project managers, or mentoring performed by external project management consultants. The overall aim of this program is to improve cooperation between the project managers and other parts of the organization and to enhance leadership skills for better project management delivery. A balance between the aforementioned steps will ensure a successful migration to a project-based organization. This migration will also facilitate the adherence to critical success factors. A project of this magnitude requires a massive investment in ICT infrastructure and applications. Still, e-government projects also requires change in legislation and policy decisions and a possible restructuring exercise of the public service. Heeks 2004, through research, explained that most e-government projects in developing countries have failed. Heeks 2004 further explained that 35% of e-government projects are total failures, 50% are partial failures, and 15% are successful. Therefore, to be effective in the e-government implementation, the project team must focus on factors that determine organizational success. And using success factors as a filter, the project manager would be able to identify the most critical information to make essential enterprise decisions. In other words, success factors are components of the project that have to be put in place to ensure the completion of the project. Cannes 2012 opened that success factors include project management successes that address the triple constraint of cost, time, quality, and stakeholder satisfaction. But Nuptulup and Sessus 2014 postulated that critical success factors, CSF, are not a standard set of measures organization-wide, but are specific because of the unique circumstances associated with the business sector. Therefore, the critical success factors for this e-governance project would differ from a magnetic resource imaging project. There are several critical success factors the project manager can give focus on for such a massive digital transformation, according to Naptululu and Seuss 2014. They include user and stakeholder involvement, good planning, supportive government policy, proper procurement strategies, effective change management, monitoring and evaluation, citizen satisfaction, stakeholder satisfaction. The affirmation migration techniques will address a number of these CSFs in the case as they outline what can be done by the project manager, the needs of the project sponsor or owner, and competencies to deliver the project under the economic pressure of time, scope, and costs. Project governance is multidimensional, and the content of a project governance framework is very much dependent on the type of projects, as well as the number of variety of shareholders and stakeholders involved, Becker 2014. In order for the Ministry of Technology to have strong governance, project performance information from controls and procedures must be coupled with informed decision-making. The governance framework must be tailored to the organization's culture, the type of project, and the needs of the organization in order to be effective. According to Bernardo Nodate, effective project governance can influence how and when effective decisions are made, which can impact project performance and success. To help align project governance structure, the following basic principles of project governance should be considered. Establish a single point of accountability that will ensure clear leadership and timeline decision-making. Ensure project governance is a service delivery focused. Separating stakeholder management and project decision-making, and separating project and organizational governance. When developing the governance framework for the MOT, it must be unique to the needs of the ministry and not merely imported from another government department. However, the Project Management Institute 2016 has grouped related functions into 4 main domains representing governance, which can be used by any organization. These are governance alignment. This includes the process to maintain an integrated governance framework, governance risk, functions and processes to identify and resolve threats and opportunities to ensure a balance of risk and reward, governance communications, functions and processes to disseminate information, engage stakeholders, and ensure organizational change, governance performance. These are functions and processes to ensure measurement and evaluation of key performance indicators against parameters and realization of business value. Within each of the governance domains are functions that categorize critical processes, activities, and tasks performed to provide support for organizational projects, programs, and portfolios. Oversight function, processes and activities that provide guidance, direction, and leadership for projects. Control function, processes and activities that provide monitoring, measuring, and reporting for projects. Integration function, processes and activities that provide strategic alignment for project. And decision-making function, processes and activities that provide structure and delegation of authority for projects. GTS must adapt a project governance framework to mitigate the risks and address the issues affecting the Ministry of Technology. This governance framework must be tailored to suit the organization's culture and the type of project at hand. This model will allow for better decision-making, authorities, responsibilities, protocols to manage projects, programs, and portfolios while meeting the organizational strategy and objectives of the ICT. According to Bernardo Nodate, there are 3 levels of governance within the project-based organization. Level 1, Executive Governance Level. This is the first level where the board operates and the extent of their interests in projects is stated. This level would be concerned with ensuring that there is effective link between the senior executive body of the Ministry of Technology and the Program Management Office. Level 2, Execution Governance Level. The organizational infrastructures must be defined to undertake projects effectively, ensuring that the appropriate capability exists within the organization to deliver projects successfully and ensuring that the right projects are done. This level includes the following: defining the project framework, determining the rules for resource allocation from the government, developing organizational and project management competencies with support from the PMO, which has been tasked with taking the lead on implementing all ICT programs undertaken by GTS, and ensuring that there is the strategic alignment of projects portfolio with the objectives of the MOT. Level 3, Delivery Governance Level. The third level looks at the individual projects which define as a temporary organization needs governing. The third level will look at developing the project governance framework, which will include the principles, structures, and processes that will be applied to the project. Additionally, the framework will define the roles, responsibilities, and decision levels within the project and coordinate communication and control processes. Association of Project Management 2011 suggests that there are 4 main components of governance of project management. That includes portfolio direction. The portfolio direction will ensure that the projects are defined and managed according to the government objectives, which are to be aligned with their digital transformation plan. Project sponsor. The project sponsor, which is the Ministry of Technology, will be in direct communication with the project manager to ensure that proper communication and decision-making is taking place. Project management effectiveness refers to the capability of the team, skills, procurement processes to ensure that it meets the objectives of the project. Disclosure and reporting. The project manager must provide timely and accurate information to the stakeholders for proper decision-making to ensure that the project is successful. These components are aligned with the organizational level of MOT and their specific responsibilities, while project governance will outline the relationships between all groups involved in the project. Based on the issues identified within the case, GTS has recommended a project framework that encompasses the following elements: roles and responsibility. The Ministry of Technology must assign 4 main roles to maintain and enforce project governance. According to ALI 2015, these roles include a project sponsor, steering committee, project management office, and the project manager. During the setup of governance infrastructure, the steering group will ensure that the project is aligned with MOT strategy. The resources, time, and budget will be looked at by the steering committee along with the business benefits to measure if the goals has been reached by the PMO. The steering group will agree on the project management process required to achieve these objectives with the project manager. Risk and issue management. The risk and issues affecting the project must be identified, classified, and prioritized, which can be done using a 2x2 matrix. ALI 2015 posits that project assurances ensures that risk and issues are managed effectively and defines the successful delivery of the project. It is important to understand that with proper risk governance, the project can benefit from potential changes and negative consequences can be minimized. According to RENS 2007, the intended result should be the development of a risk management system on a project governance level with the following characteristics: complete risk inventory, continuous and broad-based risk identification based on a participatory culture of creativity, complete risk treatment processes, and strategically anchoring and integrative management provided upfront support. Communication management. Communication is continuous throughout a project's lifecycle. Therefore, effective communication is imperative as it enables proper synchronization and cooperation among the project team when making decisions. Cambridge, 2022. A well-formulated communication plan delivers concise, efficient, and timely information to all pertinent stakeholders. In this case, it can be noted that there was a communication gap as the IT manager and his team did not communicate about their plans effectively. They also failed to escalate challenges that they were experiencing to the project sponsor. A communication plan must be identified and the plan must be followed to ensure proper decision-making is taking place. The project manager must ensure that there are meetings and timely reports submitted to the stakeholder. Stakeholder engagement. ALI 2015 posits that the first step to stakeholder engagement is to identify all stakeholders. It is evident in the scenario that there was limited stakeholder engagement in the project. Stakeholders will include the steering committee, PMOs, sponsors, suppliers, government boards, and the project team, as well as end users of the digital transformation system. The project manager must ensure that the stakeholders defined along with their interests and expectations of the project. Performance control process. There must be checks and balances to ensure that the project is running smoothly and to avoid not being aware of project failure until the end of the project lifecycle, as was the experience with the digital transformation plans of the MOT. The monitoring and control process should involve all tasks associated with the project and measure project performance against the scope, budget, time, and resources. The assessment must be continuous and performance must be measured for proper decision-making to ensure the project requirements are met. In conclusion, establishing the project governance framework is not an easy task. However, it must be taken into consideration when embarking on a new project. The benefits of accepting these recommendations include having a single point of accountability, role and responsibilities clearly identified, which allow for better decision-making. The framework will ensure that the risks and issues are identified and managed and proper communication exists with the project. The governance framework will provide instructions on how to deal with issues on the project. Not only does it define whom the issues impact, but also it details mechanisms for how to deal with the issues. It ensures that the appropriate review on the issues is done and who are the key points of contact for addressing and improving any deviations in the project requirements. Project governance provides direction and defines decision-making procedures and metrics for validating impacts to the project. It also enables the project team to deliver on requirements and creates a forum for issue resolution to occur in a timely manner. Finally, project governance provides a vehicle for information gathering and reporting to all stakeholders. This framework ensures that communication plan is well-defined, updated, and executed. Here you can find a list of scholarly articles that were used to strengthen our research. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we trust that you will apply these concepts in your professional experience.